Hi, everyone. I had some questions come in regarding the series that I put out with the poem solution, and I wanted to make this video, and there'll probably be future ones too, depending on the feedback that I get that kind of address some of those questions. Now, the first one that I had is related to the rhyme scheme. In other words, I explained when I showed the big picture how the poem refers back to itself. I just wanted to mention that there's a couple different ways that words could rhyme. Forrest Fenn is using one of the most popular ways, which is the very last word of each line will rhyme with another word. A lot of people calculate the rhyme scheme incorrectly. Normally, it doesn't really matter, but if you're trying to look at the big picture of the poem, it certainly does matter. And I'm going to explain here now how to correctly do it. So, what you do is you use the alphabet. If there are more lines in the poem than there are letters in the alphabet, there are other things that you need to do, but we're not going to get into that here because Forrest Fenn's poem doesn't have that problem. So again, Forrest Fenn is rhyming essentially the last word on each line. And there's a pattern to that. Now, the proper way to calculate that pattern is you begin with the letter A when you come across the very first word, because there's nothing in the poem to compare it to prior to that line. So you begin with A. So the first line of the poem would start off with A for the word there. Now we get to the next line. We have the word bold. You have to ask yourself, does bold rhyme with any of the previous lines? The answer is no. So we give it a new letter. That's B. We come to the next line is where. So you have to ask yourself, does where rhyme with any of the previous lines? Yes, it does. It rhymes with A. So we give that A. Does old rhyme with any of the previous lines? Yeah, it does. It rhymes with B. So for the first stanza, we only got two letters used, A and B. And the pattern internal to the stanza itself is A, B, A, B. Now you'll find that through the whole poem. Every stanza is going to rhyme A, B internally. But when you're looking at the entire poem, that's not the way it works. So let's continue. We get to the word halt. Does halt rhyme with any of the previous words? No, it doesn't. So we need a new letter. C. Go to the next one. Down. Does down rhyme with any of the previous words? No, it doesn't. So we have to come up with a new letter. D. Does walk rhyme with the previous ones? Yes, it rhymes with halt. It's called the slant rhyme. Does brown rhyme with any of the previous letters? Yeah, it rhymes with down. So we give it a D. So far, we've used four letters across the entire poem. And again, we have this A, B, A, B. In this case, it's C, D, C, D, because remember, we're talking about the whole poem. So every stanza is meeting the internal rhyme and then the global rhyme. So far, every stanza didn't rhyme with anything in any prior stanza. Go to the next one. We got meek. Does meek rhyme with anything in the previous? No, it doesn't. So we give it the letter E. We get to nigh. Does nigh rhyme with any of your previous? No, it doesn't. So we give it an F. So does creek? Yeah, creek and meek. E. High and nigh. F. Let's go to the next stanza. Blaze. Does blaze rhyme with any of the previous words? No, it doesn't. Give it the next letter. G. Does cease rhyme with any of the previous letters? No, it doesn't. So we give it an H. Gaze. Gaze rhymes with blaze. G. Peace rhymes with cease. H. So now I'm going to zoom out just to give us more room to get to the next stanza. And it'll also be better to look at the big picture. So we zoom out, we go. So go. Does go rhyme with any of the previous words? No, it doesn't. So we give it an I. Now here is where you got to pay attention. This is where he starts to change things up. He's still going to have the internal rhyme scheme for this stanza of A, B, A, B. In other words, the first line of the stanza is going to rhyme with the third. The second's going to rhyme with the fourth within that stanza. But if you look at it globally, the word seek does rhyme with meek and creek. So the proper letter to give this is E. Now, no rhymes with go. So we give that an I. Weak, again, rhymes with seek, which rhymes with meek and creek. So we give that an E. Now we get down to good. Does good rhyme with any of the previous nines? No, it doesn't. So we go to J. Again, we go to the next line. Does it rhyme? Does cold rhyme with any of the previous lines? Yeah, it does. It rhymes with bold and old. So we give it a B. Does wood rhyme with anything in the previous? J. So we get to gold. Does gold rhyme with any of the previous ones? Yeah, it rhymes with the B. So as you can see in the entire poem, once he gets to the fifth stanza, he starts with the second line of that stanza, hopping back up to from there, it's no place for the meek, right? So that's where I was saying in my solution that this stanza, due to the words, now remember this, that's when we get to the part of the point, he said, so hear me all and listen good. He's telling you to look and listen to the rhyme scheme. And he's telling you basically that this is going to refer back. And if you notice, this stanza is answering questions. Well, it's answering questions that are going to apply when you get up to the line that's from there. It's no place for the meek, and there'll be no paddle up your creek. Now, remember though that this is two sentences. This stanza is made up of two sentences, and due to the semicolon, they're related to each other. So we already determined that this is a crossroads. So down here, where he's talking about tired and weak, it's going to refer back to what each of these sentences. And we discovered that the first sentence is referring to where you came from, and the second sentence is telling you where you're going to go to. And that's how these hints down here, when we get to the so clause, refer back. Now, when you get to the very last one, again, he's telling you, so hear me all and listen good. So your effort will be worth the cold. Well, when we talk about colds, he's going all the way back up to the very first stanza. And that is how I came to the conclusion that when he's referring you back there, he's actually telling you that the title to the gold ends up being the word treasures because it's bold, it's brave, okay? It's emboldened, and it is also the hint of riches new and old. And since we're on the topic of rhymes, let me get out of here because that's done. Let's go back in. If you look at these sentences, the way they rhyme, as I have gone alone in there, I can keep my secret where. And with my treasures bold, I can hint the riches new and old. It's not written that way, but he's saying, he's giving you two things here. He's telling you two things that he did. As I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold. These two things, okay, are what is enabling him. Remember, the word can means that he has the ability to do something. He doesn't say, I keep my secret where. He's saying that he has the ability. So we know for fact that the ability to do that is all hinged around all of this stuff up here. That is what is giving him the ability to keep. So if you look at the rhyme scheme in here, when you get to the line that says, I can keep my secret where, he's actually talking about in there, right? And then he's saying, and hint the riches new and old. Obviously, that's going back to treasures bold. This is telling you that this line here is a hint. All right. So bold means that the word prior to it is being emphasized. So it's telling us right up that this word here, treasures, is his hint of riches new and old. Now, if you go and read the very last stanza down here, where it's referring you back up there, it's quite obvious what he's doing. This stanza at the very end of the poem is actually kind of asking the questions that you would have had back in the first stanza. He's answering the questions there with this. And in the fifth stanza, he's answering the questions related to this stuff here. And you can tell that because he's talking about it. All right. The only place that we have the word it is here, here, here. The very next time that you see the word it, well, you're going to see it here. But this entire stanza is going back to both of these stanzas to answer that question. He's telling you right here. So why is it? The H is silent. He's saying, so hear me on, listen. He's telling you to listen to the poem. So why is it? That's the independent clause. So why is it? He's confirming the state. And if you notice that he uses the word go here, he uses a different tense of it. He's using gone, but the base verb is go. And here he's telling you that he must go to Wyoming. And then when you get to the very next line, he's talking about leaving his trove for all to seek. Well, notice that the very next line here, he's talking about with his treasured fold. So he went in there with his treasured fold. In there is where he keeps his secret where. So when we get down here to begin it, we're going to basically begin what he's telling you to do here. Follow in my footsteps. Do as I do. So we're going to begin it. And incidentally, that's the first independent clause of that stanza. It can stand on its own. That's the only command he's giving you. He's telling you to begin it. And then down here, he's telling you to put in. All of this stuff from the where is explaining the starting reference point to where you're supposed to begin it. This verb halt and this other verb take are connected to warm waters. This is the subject to the verb halt and the verb take. So where the warm waters halt, then take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk. And that's why he's telling you to put in below the home of Brown. He just got done telling you that these lines above are his definition of the home of Brown. Okay, so basically you're going to begin it at the home of Brown. And where's the home of Brown? Well, it's where warm water salt to take it in the canyon down, not far but too far to walk. Down here in the fifth stanza, he's telling you that you have to drive there. And he's also giving you a hint that you're going to go to a campground. He's tired and weak. He's exhausted. When you're tired and weak, you go to a place for a tarry scamp. He happens to want a room with the cage. I mean, this stuff is really straightforward. There's nothing more to read into this. When we get down to here, after we put in, okay, so we've drove from where we began, we drove down to this spot. Now, this spot is a crossroads. Like I said, it's made up of two sentences joined with the semicolon. You'll notice that this first sentence is the only one that refers back to it. So that's telling you it's referring back to where we began. In other words, he took you to a crossroads where he wants you. You don't have to go where warm waters halt. He's telling you to begin it there. He's not telling you to go there, right? He's telling you to put in. So all you need to do is know where is, and that's your reference point of the starting location. In Arsov, of course, it's the wheel. And down here, he's describing that at that intersection, if you don't turn and you keep going, you're going to end up back up there where warm waters halt. And he's saying, from here, from the crossroads, it is no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. Both of those apply to the wheel. Okay, it's a circle. It doesn't have an end. It's ever drawing nigh. But there's more meaning to that because he says the end. And of course, when you learn about the wheel, you learn about the E and D. But nonetheless, this is referring back to where you started. These two lines are referring to where you're going to go. Go here to the spot where I want you to turn off. One of the signs is going to be pointing in the direction here, and the other sign is going to be telling you to go here. You're going to be going up a creek, but there's no paddle, meaning you're not going to go in the water. You're going to drive or go to a place that you are able to walk from. Because remember, he says to walk here, to walk. Walk is a verb. This is an infinitive form verb, and he's telling you that it's too far to walk. This means that he wants you to go to the second nearest place that you could walk from. So what he's doing is he's taking you from up at the top of the mountain where the wheel is down to the base of the canyon where you're going to head back upstream into the canyon from below because there's no way to get down there from above. As we know, there's a waterfall there, you would fall. So anyway, I don't really need to explain all of this anymore because I explain how all of this works, how the blaze, everything in my other videos. I just wanted to mainly answer the question of how the rhyme scheme works. And when you get down here and he's telling you, so hear me, but he's saying all of me, everything I've said, me. Me is, of course, the speaker of the poem. So if you go back and you look through the poem, anywhere you have I, and he's talking, that's the speaker, I have gone alone in there. I can keep my secret where? The secret where belongs to the speaker. It's mine. Now all of a sudden you don't see I anymore. Okay, because he's telling you two instructions, begin it and put in. And then he's describing the place we came from, the place we're going to. The next place we see I is here again. And again, like I said, this seek is telling you to go back up to here. But as I pointed out before, he's saying, why is it that I must go? Well, the only place he's talking about himself going anywhere is right here. So when he's answering the questions down here, he's telling you that you should already know it because I've described it here, but he's talking about where he went and he's providing another hint. So this is important. This is referring back. This is referring back. This is not A, B, A, B. This is I, E, I, E. Yeah, the stanza rhymes with itself, but it also is rhyming back up. It's going back up to E, and it's going back up to E on this line. Okay. So this whole stanza is related to that. And then when we get down here, it's going all the way back up to B. That's what he means by taking a look at the big picture. And that is how we came to the conclusion that in order to find Forrest Fenn's treasure chest, we had to do what he did. We had to have gone alone in there, and we don't have the treasure chest, but we're using the title. He gave us the title down here because we were braving in the wood up here. You'll notice that when he talks about in, okay, he's saying in there, okay, in the canyon down. And then we have put in below, right? So in there, in the canyon down, in below. So as soon as we get here, below this, in there, we are now in there. You get it? We put in there. We are in there. We are in the wood. As I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold, and it's the same thing with the word bold and being brave. So he's given us title to the gold. This is again where we have I, right? I. The answer is I must go. Those are, I am weak, you know. I have done it tired. That's the speaker of the poem. And he's telling you to listen to all of those locations. How does he want you to listen? He wants you to listen good. He wants you to listen to the rhyme scheme. And what we need to do is we need to take treasures just like he did. And it's going to begin where warm water salt is where we're going to begin it. And we're going to take it in the canyon down. just like he did. Now remember, he says, as I have gone. Have gone means that it's a trip that he began and he never completed it. And that makes sense because he was going to be doing this when he planned to die at the location of the treasure. He's not going to return. So he went in there with the treasure chest. He took it in the canyon down. So in here, we're coming from here, the place where the Braves go, up at the wheel, and we're going here. So we're going up the creek into the woods. And the only thing we're going to find in the wood is heavy loads and water high. That's where it ends. So when we're actually boots on the ground, of course, this takes on a different meaning because this time we're actually going to find a physical chest. We didn't come up cold. We didn't read the poem and end up without the treasure chest, only to get down here and remember T.S. Eliot. We're going to arrive where we began and know the place for the very first time. So at the end of the poem, he's telling us what to do to find out where to begin it at. And of course, that is going to become the wheel, the medicine wheel in Wyoming Bighorns. We're going to do exactly what he did, and we're going to begin it at the wheel. But we're going to go to the crossroads to put in because we're not able to walk from the place that we begin it down. That's just a hint. I mean, basically, what I'm saying is you can go to this crossroads and then draw a line from the crossroads back up to the wheel. And then when you zoom in on the wheel, you're going to notice that you just intersected the E cairn, the end. You basically followed the sun up to where you began. The only way you're going to know that is if you use the hints. And he's hinting right here again to tell you to look at the big rhyme scheme, the overall poem. Don't focus on an individual stanza. Step back and notice how stanza 5 is sending you back up to here. It's answering questions from these two stanzas. And then when you get down to here, he's answering questions about where you're going to be when you get boots on the ground and how you're going to be in the wood. The poem is extremely straightforward. And again, remember, the poem is a story. So all of these clues that you see in the poem, where warm water salt, canyon down, not far but too far to walk, below the home of Brown, no place for the meek, the end is ever drawing nigh, right? All of those are going to solve to the same exact location, Five Springs, all of them. We got Five Springs Basin, Five Springs Creek, Five Springs Canyon, Five Springs Falls Campsite, Five Springs Falls, and then Five Springs Road, which is where you're going to put it right here at the intersection. So all of that stuff solves to the same place. And the way you figure that out is by reading the poem and doing precisely what the poem told you to do. And by precisely, I mean refer back and understand that these stanzas down here, these are helping answer your questions. Okay. Your effort is basically going to be everything from here to here when you leave with the chest. That's your effort. So he knows that in order for you to be worth the cold, that's where we're going to be actually fording the creek. So anyway, that's our effort. It's going to be worth the cold. And he's telling you, if you've been brave and in the wood, everything is referring back. This is extremely straightforward. And the reason why he ends up with a slant rhyme over here, like he told Dow, he was limited in his ability. And what he meant by that is he had to use the word halt. He had to use a word that was, let's say, synonymous with stop, but it ended with the letter T, which is the first letter that we need. Otherwise, the poem wouldn't have worked. And we're not going to go anywhere here in the home of Brown. We're going to go to a place that we could walk from. To walk. So why are you going here up the creek? I'm going there to walk. So he was limited. He had to use halt and walk. That was as close as he was going to get on these two lines. And he was also limited here because he had to get treasures there and embolden it. Now, one other thing you'll notice about the poem, all of the lines have 8 syllables, except for this line, and this line. So lines 2, 3, and 7 are the only lines that don't have 8 syllables. And that's because he needed to use specific words, like I pointed out. And he's referring back up to it down here. So anyway, folks, I hope that answers your questions about the big picture and the rhyme scheme. I hope you have a great weekend. Peace.